Okay, recording this video. It's just coming up to 12:46 p.m. Chicago time, Thursday, 3rd of January 2013. Happy New Year to you. And first day trading back to me. We've actually had quite a lot of time off, but we had an incident, a fairly major incident in Paris just before Christmas. Be doing an update about that tomorrow. You might be interested. Anyway, today, so yesterday we had kind of a blow-off move. We had all the excitement after the fiscal cliff and so on. But just be careful because there's quite a lot of profit taking kind of going on. Let me just show you some charts. So far today, we're more than halfway through the trading day, and we've only done 0.7 million contracts today. Yesterday we just did over the average about 1.6 or something like that. And yesterday's pattern, interestingly on a daily pattern, was one of these stopping volume patterns, an ST starred stopping volume pattern. If you've got Better Pro-Am, you should know what that is. If you don't, check out the customer videos, the tutorials on that, and that'll tell you about that particular pattern. And it just shows a profit-taking pattern. You can see we had one kind of previously on this kind of move up here. I mean, it's not to be unexpected that we've had this kind of pretty strong rally with the expectation of a deal being done. It's like they weren't going to not do a deal. It was just a question of how good or bad the deal was from various perspectives. Anyway, so they did do a deal, and so seemingly the market has liked that deal, and we've kind of bounced from there. But at these kind of elevated levels, up at the 1460s, 1455s kind of levels yesterday, we were starting to see some profit taking, and that's what we got with that pattern yesterday. On the oscillators, you can see the trend oscillators. We had a cluster of buy signals over the last few days leading into that. And a couple of things to note. First of all, as you know, these systems are just kept on going. Let me just pull up the performance report here. Here we go. It's like we're making new equity highs. It's been a really good year for the systems. They keep on kind of moving up, which is great. And these things haven't changed since the day they were released. So no optimization going on. These are as released, which is really good. But note a couple of things. So the trend oscillator is going to turn at some point over the next couple of days. After we had that blow-off move, you can see this kind of exhaustion, this very strong pattern we had kind of getting this move going. That was an extremely high value, over 100 on the adjusted trend value. But as we come up to yesterday's and today's activities, look at the values of the adjusted trend. So the adjusted trend yesterday was 33. Today so far is about 14. And what's that's showing is that there's quite a lot of selling going on during those 2 days. So that's not necessarily a good thing. And that ST starred, stopping volume starred kind of pattern, just shows that the range is relatively compressed because there's quite a lot of selling volume kind of coming in. And yesterday, towards the end of the day, the average trade size was extremely high. So one of those kind of profit-taking days. And you could see it on the long-term charts yesterday. 4,500 tip bar chart, for example, here. So this is, we kind of had this slight bit of weakness into the mid-morning yesterday, and then it rallied really strongly. Look at all these blue professional bars kind of coming into those highs with extremely high readings on better momentum here. All of that's professional kind of profit taking going on as we're reaching kind of new highs, and the professionals leg in and leg out. It's like just because it's happening that they're not going to get out at the absolute high. They're going to use all this liquidity and this volume kind of going into the market, place their stepped kind of sell orders laddered up into this kind of late 50s kind of region here, getting out on that activity. And then today's activity, we had similar type pattern coming into the 58s kind of region around here. The top so far, or close to the top so far on the 4500 tip bar chart, was marked with a Rambo pattern, and we're just playing around those highs. Doesn't look like it's going to be a reversal day today. We're coming up to 1 p.m. We've not kind of turned around, so the window for reversing is kind of passed. So we'll be just hanging around these kind of elevated levels for today. And 1500. So this, I'll tag on the best day trade today for me, which was pulling off this move here. There was 4 points to be made, on just about kind of 4 points to be made in this move. I pulled out 3 out of this, and then I had a quarter point going into this after 4 trades. But yes, we had our exhaustion yesterday. on the 1500 tip bar chart. So we had our exhaustion patterns, bearish divergence, then we put in a little pullback to end of trend overnight. But what I talk about is using the professionals will need the full liquidity of the market to kind of exit. So even though we've seen an exhaustion pattern at the close of yesterday, look for one of those as a final kind of sell-off activity, kind of buying climax activity, in order to kind of take positions and go the other way during the full open market. So the first thing that happened during this morning was we had a pretty sharp decline here into an exhaustion selling signal here. Now what that's showing is that these are people who are trying to anticipate a breakdown in trend and getting on, and that's quite a lot of selling short at this point. But the professionals, and we had professionals right at the beginning of the day kind of getting short. The lows of those blue professional bars were broken. We come into those lows, two professional blue bars kind of come in, bullish divergence kind of comes in here, and we start this rally, kind of fairly slow rally, not kind of big ranges particularly today, but just kind of legging up a little bit here. And then it really got going after we had this nice kind of flush pattern right here. Remember, bullish and bearish divergence signals, when they happen right on the zero line like this one, we've had our exhaustion selling, bullish divergence kind of comes in right on the zero line. Look for a flush pattern. We need something somewhere in between the zero line and the exhaustion pattern to get rid of that final, flush out those final sellers at this point. These were people kind of trying to sell this move, anticipating a correction, a change in reversal, change in trend for today. No, they get wrong-footed. The market breaks the other way. You see these blue professional bars, a little bit of a gathering pattern here, where you see blue professional bars underneath kind of a previous high, just waiting in expectation of a new kind of break to new highs, which we got, and they start to take profits here. So bearish divergence comes in, another flush pattern here at these highs, and we're just going to probably play around these highs, but it's going to be kind of slow going, I'd say. Rambo pattern here, 4500 tip bar chart is a Rambo pattern, kind of, so the amateur's getting wrong-footed right at the highs up here at 1460. So the entry into this was I was trying to get long earlier on. I was long at 55, kind of got out break-even trade at 55, but then as soon as the flush patterns kind of came in again, and we had these blue professional bars kind of coming in, breaking above the highs of that blue professional bar there, with support behind us here, and I think we had support behind us, yep, on the 4500 tip bar chart. This was kind of ready to just make another kind of push to new highs, and run some stops. We hadn't really run the stops previously because the stops were placed around there. We just got to that level, but a point or two above there was a whole bunch of stops to be run, and that's what we did during that activity there. So I'll tag on that trade. I took out 3 points here. It was good for 4, but it got really slow after 3, so I just kind of got out there on an end of trend or close to an end of trend pattern on the 500 tip bar chart. Anyway, so there we go. Just taking it kind of day by day, looking for these little moves and picking out 4 points. I hope your trading is going well. Happy New Year! And as I said, we had a fairly major incident in Paris that just want to talk about, not particularly related to trading, but more to just the world in general. Anyway, so hope you're having a good day's trading, and looking forward to tomorrow. Long 56 even. Long 56 even. Let's just try this one last time. Had a bunch of blue professional bars kind of coming on 500 here, and one on the 1500, and we're starting to break the highs of this. We've got support kind of due on 1500. Still looking for that final kind of blow-off move on 1500. We've had this initial rush of selling, but we just need to see that on the upside to end this move, and we had this weakness after the Rambo pattern. Rambo's on 1500 really significant, so that's why we've kind of dropped so far from there. But we need to break out above here and take us into, we need another trend move on 500 plus an exhaustion pattern on 15. So hopefully it's been really quiet the last 45 minutes. Let's see if this is this final kind of push up. So long 56 even. Here we go. Blue professional up bars here, a little bit of a gathering here, kind of getting this move going, hopefully break to new highs. So support's in on 1500, so we've at least got to go support to resistance on this move. And let's see if we can, looking for 60, which is a fair ways away given the the trouble we had getting through 57s. So let's just see what happens next. It's good. We had a flush signal go off on 1500, so bullish divergence right on the zero line. Always look for a flush kind of afterwards, or some kind of deeper move, sell-off move, because once they're on the zero line here, you need something to really flush out the sellers. So that's kind of what we've had in this last kind of shift down. Now we've kind of broken back up. We've got all these blue professional bars just waiting for a break above 57s. So let's see. Right, here we go. Another blue professional up bar and 4500, kind of breaking the highs of that, kind of getting this move going. So we had a couple of flush patterns going off here. So this was people anxious to get on board, and now they're all having to reverse. So we've had our bullish divergence flush pattern. So, you know, potentially, what was yesterday's high-ish value? 58. So, yeah, 60 is kind of possible, but that's why we're getting this resistance kind of up here, because we're kind of previous highs. I think this is going to break through this time. We've got resistance on 500, so a break of that will take us into a trend move on 500, but this is good until we get that exhaustion pattern 6000. We need to see 8 or 9 on 1500, so let's keep holding. Here we go. We're starting to run some stops, so we just blasted through 57s really quickly, which is kind of good. So we're holding out for 60. Whoa, here we go. So maybe we will get to 60. So we've got 8,000 on better momentum here. It's got to go a little bit more than that in order to get a exhaustion pattern. But we're above resistance here, so we've got to see pullback to end of trend. So let's keep holding. Okay, we got up to 13,000 on better momentum here. We've got blue professional kind of up bars here. Rainbow patterns. It's not over until we see bearish divergence coming on 1500, but we've got to see kind of like a pullback to end of trend move on 500. We're in a trend move here because we're above resistance. We're just settling back a little bit after having that kind of really explosive run up, but I think we'll kind of keep on going. So let's hold. We've got 60 as the target. Pro signal exit go off here. It's about 13,000 better momentum. Resistance kind of come in. Still got to wait for pullback to end of trend on 500, so still hoping for another kind of push up. That'll give us a bearish divergence signal on 1500. On the higher time frames, we're still kind of playing around this type level from yesterday. So let's see. Going for another rush up to hopefully 59s. We'll hit that. So I'll hold out for 60, but slowed down a little bit. But blue professional bars kind of getting out, getting short all the way up. So pullback to end of trend mark the end of this move. It's 10:22 a.m. but Hawaii here it's only 6:22, so let's keep holding. Alright, bearish divergence coming on 1500 with this exhaustion pattern. So we've still got to make pullback to end of trend on 500, but that potentially is a reversal type pattern. It's all these people that wanted to short early kind of having a cover, and this is a better place to get short, but let's see this kind of play out. The pullback is in 500 tip bar chart. We just came back to 59s. It's a Rambo pattern here. Tempted just to move my target in a fraction, but if we get another little burst of activity, it'll get us to 60. It's just a bit nervous with that kind of come in there and a Rambo pattern. Let's just see. And even 4-3, and happy with that. Just there we go. Goes for that little push. It's been a long day. It's 10:34 a.m. Just kind of wary of that kind of move there. So 3 1/4 points after 4 trades. Kind of slow going. I'd rather take my profits here, particularly Rambo patterns. You get something like this, it'll easily kind of fall off. And then we got the pullback to end of trend that'll go off on the 500 tip bar chart. We've had all these blue professional bars here, so yeah, it's going to go 60. Anyway, never mind. That's me done for the day.